What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. Typically on Tuesday we would do the new content this week video, but of course the next couple of weeks are going to be sort of off weeks or quieter weeks for Heresy before the launch of Ride of the Nine. We do however get a bunch of updates from Bungie worth mentioning, so they talk about the next update, which will fix a bunch of items in the Nether, and progression for Heresy in general. On top of that, some Emblem codes and updates regarding unlocks. Plus, Bungie clarify a couple of things regarding communications between their two IPs, acknowledge new bugs, and a handful of other things which we'll discuss in the videos. So if you guys find this one useful, I'd super appreciate it if you drop a rating or subscribe to the channel if you're new. Otherwise though, let's get into it. Firstly, quick mention, but Destiny Emblem Collector shared this emblem, and if you like the look of it, you can claim it with the code on screen. I'll link the redemption page below as well. Obviously this is linked to the discussion around the marathon stuff. I'm not sure if it's specifically a marathon themed emblem, but if you like it, there you go. Also, for any folks who are missing the emblem for watching the marathon reveal stream, if you believe all your accounts were linked as intended, players have said if you go to your partner rewards on the Bungie website, then refresh it, and then relaunch Destiny 2, if everything's been done correctly, that emblem should appear in collections. So just a quick mention on that front. Otherwise, the next time we'll get an update for Destiny will be next week on Tuesday, and Destiny the game clarify remaining Dreadnought collectibles from the title will be available on April 22nd following that update. So at the moment, the lockout is 44 of 50 collectibles. So if that's the number you have, you are essentially up to date. And when the remaining ones are available, I'll do my best to try and cover exactly where they are and all that good stuff. Following that update though, a couple of weeks later, we'll get update 826. Bungie have said there will be a slight sandbox tuning update, as well as the arrival of the heavy metal game mode and Ride of the Nine. Plus it's looking like there could be a couple of additional components to this update, as well as the potential for a reveal for Frontiers around that time, so keep it locked and loaded here and I'll give you new info when Bungie give it to us. Otherwise, for anyone still working on Barrow Dyad Catalyst and the Cross Blades Tithe from Act 3, Bungie essentially reiterate that if the portal won't open for that, then you don't have enough of the Coalescence of Knives items. Basically, the only way to try and work around that, if you've encountered the issue, is to check a guide on where to find each of them, and hopefully it's the case that you are simply missing one, as opposed to it being bugged. Although that doesn't seem like an extreme possibility, does it? And in terms of future updates to the Nether, and whether we may see any additional changes, outside of fixing missing collectibles, Bungie have essentially said additional updates right now are a bit more than they could chew on, so we probably shouldn't anticipate any. This may also bleed into the conversation around Court of Blades drop rates for weapons, which, despite Bungie's updates, still don't seem to be anywhere near as good as what they were in the Nether initially at launch. It's possible we'll see more changes, but Bungie have essentially suggested that at this point their focus has to be on other content. Of course, Ride of the Nine is coming very soon, and I'm assuming that the Q&A team will be trying to get that to drop with a minimal amount of issues. And of course, the same will apply to Frontiers and the next expansion. That's probably where Bungie are putting the resources right now. And on a personal level, while that may be a bit frustrating, I totally get it by the way, at this point in time, I would rather that we get a smoother Ride of the Nine drop, and of course, especially the next expansion. So either way, that is Bungie's kind of position on it. And again, I'll keep you posted if we get further updates. There was a slight tease that we might get increased Nightfall rewards and reputation very soon. Destiny 2 team didn't clarify any specific dates, but given that we do have two quieter resets right here, this would probably be a good time to drop it. So I'll keep you posted after the refresh this week. Otherwise, Bungie have kind of officially recognised the bugged Vesper's Host featured drops. That includes the Pinnacle and the ability to farm away for the exotic. They didn't directly acknowledge it, but they've marked an official answer on the Bungie forums which indicates that is the case. Otherwise, DMG said, in terms of communications between Marathon and Destiny, which of course at the minute are sometimes coming from Bungie Help, and otherwise the Destiny 2 team on social media, and of course all of the Destiny accounts will be focused on Destiny communications specifically, but obviously there will be some additional details that Bungie need to give out regarding that, and presumably that will mean specific support accounts for Marathon in particular. And importantly, if you're interested in the Destiny updates and not getting confused between the two titles, that should streamline that communication pipeline a little bit. A final couple of updates which do pertain to Marathon right here. At the moment, I'm only really dropping important stuff for select folks who are interested in both titles, right? And I'm putting it at the end of the video intentionally, so if it's of no use to you, cheers for tuning in for the Destiny part, but Bungie Help have said players who have a Discord username that begins with a special number or character are now able to sign up for the Marathon Closed Alpha via the Discord, so if you encountered that problem, it should now be fixed. Also, Bungie have basically confirmed that Marathon will get a beta version as well well as the closed alpha that we're going to see in the next couple of weeks. Probably sometime in the summer or later in the spring, perhaps in May or something. Another thing on this subject, actually, a bit less about Marathon and more really about Bungie, but the game director for Marathon confirmed the game has been in development for over 4 years, with around about 300 developers working on the project right now. And so based on what we know about how many people Bungie employ, of course not all of them are actual game developers building parts of video games, right? There's publishing, marketing, and a host of other departments where folks are employed at the studio, but it still probably indicates that the majority of Bungie is working on Destiny still at the moment, as Paul Tassi pointed out. I would say at the very least it confirms that the developer teams are split, so Marathon doesn't specifically have more folks working on it than are working on Destiny, and if anything, it probably is true that more of the developers are actually working on Destiny at the moment. So that's an interesting point. As for the reasons for that, well, Destiny, frankly, by the looks of it, overall is a more complicated game, right? There's more real estate, certainly a more complicated sandbox. And being a loot-focused game, that also means many more items actually in the game to collect, whether it's gear and equipment or kind of incidental quest items or whatever. So part of it is certainly logical. I think what Bungie have done here is tried, of course, to launch 2 IPs. There's a bit of a narrative that perhaps Bungie are more interested in Marathon at the moment. I don't think that's necessarily the case because Destiny has been the cash cow for a long time. Bungie want to try and do something else, but they're also aware that they can't just abandon Destiny. That would be a gamble from a commercial perspective, right? That just goes way too far. And I think it's obvious at this point that that isn't what they're trying to do. Obviously, actually achieving both of those things at once is a totally separate thing. And as Paul Tassi points out, one project or the other may pull or stay ahead after Frontiers and Marathon actually launch. So this is something I discussed the other day. It's entirely possible that more of the team currently working on Marathon will actually be brought back to develop more Destiny content. I do appreciate though what some folks have said, where there's an element where if Marathon is extremely successful, if that somehow turns out to be the case, of course, Bungie absolutely could lean into that even more, which wouldn't do Destiny any favors. So really there's a lot of speculation about it, but ultimately for the moment, it tells us that the resources have at least been split, and if anything, it's entirely possible that Destiny is getting more resources technically right now than what Marathon has for the past few years. So it's an interesting one. And of course, we'll get a much better idea of Bungie's vision for the future of Destiny once they actually speak about Frontiers. Hopefully that will happen very, very soon. Otherwise, something that might be interesting for Destiny players more than anything, but Bungie have basically said there are no plans for a dedicated PvE mode in Marathon at launch. And basically, they're spending all of the time on their baseline extraction experience as opposed to investing anything into those other components of the game. Of course, they might do that after launch, especially if a lot of people do actually start playing Marathon and there is still an interest for that. So just a thing worth mentioning, as it is one of the items of discussion that you'll see from Destiny players in general. For now though, guys, that is what we have to speak about. So like I said, a couple more weeks till Ride of the Nine. If you want to recap on that, I'll link a video down below that does have some details. I would also hope that in the next couple of weeks, the Twids, will get a bit more interesting with regards to future updates as opposed to kind of recapping things that have already happened. So we'll have to see how it pans out, given that we are 3 weeks away from when Ride of the Nine is going to drop. Presumably that means they're going to want to talk about it. Having said that, the communication cadence has definitely been different from what we've seen in the past, only particularly in the last kind of month. So we'll simply have to watch and wait for the minute. But if you found the video useful, drop us a rating and a comment down below. It really does support me here on the channel. I'll also keep you up to date as always. So if you are new around here, feel free to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so that I can keep you posted. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.